when it comes to horror movies now, do you notice a new type of trend that's going on with them that they're doing, or no?
Uh, Sequel baiting. Most of them.
Well, okay, no, they could do that at any time. Even with any other movie, it's always a sequel, unfortunately. But I mean, like for horror movies, do you notice something that they're doing, in your opinion? Because obviously they want to try to change it up, which is great. But unfortunately, though, when they do the same type of idea for every single movie, it kind of gets stale. Because you're like, we're doing this again, right? I noticed that they're doing this with with at least 3 franchises so far in my head. And I was wondering if you kind of noticed anything that they're doing nowadays with these horror movies.
Well, look, I don't have a good eye as you, but you can go ahead and tell me because I don't look too deep into it. For me, I'm mostly the consumer.
Okay,
I like to be entertained. And if a movie doesn't do that, then it's not worth the watch.
I have agreed with that, but no, absolutely, absolutely. I agree. I want to be entertained, but I want to be entertained if it's done right. Again, we don't want the same shit constantly if it's garbage, right? And if a
Of course.
horror movie comes up with a great idea, great. It's a new fresh idea. I like the way how it came up. But if you use that fresh idea for the same thing for every single franchise, it gets stale.
Of
So this
course.
is what I noticed with Halloween, the 2018 one, I believe. The new trend or the thing that they started that was so great that people were really hyped up about when you first saw the trailer was the fact that they brought back the original actress from Halloween and who was in almost all the other Halloween movies. The main character for that one, who survived Michael Myers before, she comes back. She's old, obviously, because the movie was like 30, 40 years old. Before she was running from Michael, and now here she is, all commando, trying to go against Michael. Scream. What did they do with this new Scream movie? Before, these victims from 1 and 2 and 3, they were scared of Scream. They were trying to run from him. They were trying to survive. Here in this new one, they bring back the old actors, and what do? They're all like casual about it. Ready to do this again? I guess so. And I was like, okay, so they basically stole that from Halloween, but all right, it doesn't come out though because you're kind of too calm. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you facing the killer, but you would be kind of nervous about it. You wouldn't be like, anyways, you wouldn't, no, because you're facing someone that was trying to kill you at one point. Texas Chainsaw Killer, the movie that you saw, they brought back the original actress from the very first Texas Chainsaw Killer movie. And then in this one, he's back. From the trailer, she has all these guns and stuff. I don't know what happened in the movie, but obviously she comes back, and I was like,
It's basically the same thing from Halloween. She's come back all commando and shit, and all these people are already getting slaughtered. I'm like, dude, you're coming here looking like Rambo. Where you at?
but see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I noticed. I noticed that the new thing that they're doing is that they're bringing back all these victims, and they're coming back like, oh, they're tough. They had gun training, they had martial arts, and all this other stuff. And then I'm just like, okay,
That don't mean.
For Halloween, that was fine because it was something new there. You do it for Scream, okay. You try to do it on this franchise, but it didn't come off right because the cool thing with the Halloween one was that she was still scared of him. I like that. She was still scared of Michael Myers. So even though she was prepping, you can tell she's still nervous about it. The Scream one, they weren't scared at all. They treated it like it was funny. I hated it. For this new one, I don't really know, but then it got to the point where I was like, okay, so what if Jason comes back or if Nightmare on Elm Street comes back, are they going to do that too? What about Chucky? If Chucky somehow comes back, or I don't know if it's going on in this new TV show, are they going to do that too? Like, it's getting like they do the same thing for everything.
I honestly don't think that's the none of the original casts came back for Chucky because fucking nobody. The same storyline. Everything from Chucky was basically retcon after the new movie.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's a remake, right? So none of that obviously counts because it's remade. But no, yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about horror movies is that they have one idea and then they use it for all the other ones, and it's a little too noticeable at times. Yeah, you're supposed to be entertained when it comes to horror movies, sure. But you don't want the same thing constantly. There's a new killer, have something different with that killer. Make it a different situation, maybe a different location, add a different type of character, not the same scared character, not the same badass character, just a different type of character, maybe a different ethnicity. I mean, obviously have the killer obviously use different types of weapons. Or maybe have a smart killer for crazy but smart. Like, change it up. If it's the same shit, I don't give a fuck. In my opinion, if I'm entertained, I'm just like, no, I don't know.
How did you mention, is there one pattern in horror movies that I see constantly? There is. And I don't mean to get racial, But why is there always these white people that are doing this shit? Any situation, it's always these white people.
You have an issue with the lead. Why is it that the lead characters are always just like these white people? Why is it never like an Asian or maybe like African American or
and then
anyone?
but then I hate the excuse of, oh well, because no person of ethnicity would jump in that situation. I'm like, bullshit.
Really, I never heard that. Oh wow.
I've heard that constantly. It's just like, oh well, you'll never see an Asian do this. You'll never see a Mexican do this. You'll definitely won't see a black person. I'm like, so you're telling me if I got dragged into a situation with a dumb white person, you wouldn't see a black person in this situation?
That's true. No, that's very true. You're fair to say that, obviously, because that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing every time. I mean, I guess the argument for that is, well, no, there are different ethnicity friends. They're just side characters, but for you, it's more like, no, I want them to be main characters.
Yeah, I want them to like be the main focus. Best example again is that piece of crap Chainsaw Massacre movie. Yeah, they brought back the original girl, but where did they go? Oh, they went to an abandoned town and invited a bunch of teenagers. Who was the main group? A bunch of white kids. It's a bunch of, and they're the ones that get them into that situation. Mm-hmm. I'm sick and tired of that. It's just a bunch of white people get people into that situation.
Now, with that being said, that's actually good for my next question. I want to ask you, do you think horror movies were scarier back then, or are they scarier now just because of how they're made?
Oh, it was scarier back then. Because again, you never knew what the killer was going to do.
It was fresh at the time.
Yeah. New. Now, if you keep bringing back these characters, you already know their tricks. You know what's going to happen. If you make new characters, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to get killed. Mm-hmm. That's the fear factor that I like.
When it comes to horror movies, what to you, right, being the viewer, what would you like to see in them?
What would I like to see in them or say in them?
No, seeing them.
What would I like to see?
What do you want them to do in horror movies that you would like to see in the big screen that hasn't either been done yet, or do you feel like they should go back to doing?
I think they should just go back to throw me a curveball. Throw me a kill that I think that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen. Throw me a fake out.
You want them to make you expect the unexpected, basically.
Yeah, throw me a fake out. Like, you see this one chick, she's doing a dumb decision. You're thinking, she's dead. Cuts back and is actually the other dude.
Okay.
Like the person with the smart decision, they would get killed in the old school horror movies. And the person that does dumb decision, you think they're gonna die. No. Yeah, give me more of that. Give me the thing where it's like punish the person who's doing good decisions.
What don't you want to see in horror movies anymore? That you're just like, stop with this, it doesn't work.
Remaking them and then saying, oh, retconned.
Yeah,
no, and then bringing back these characters to be like, we're commando now, we can handle this. I mean, you've done it like 5 other times. What's going to happen? What's different about this time?
Okay, for you, basically, you don't want remakes no more, and you don't want them bringing back the same characters anymore. That's for you.
I'm sick of them remaking it, and then the director going, "Oh, we made a mistake. We're retconning all that." No, you can't fix everything by just saying the other ones don't exist.
Okay, no, especially since people went to the trouble of making them. I mean, yeah, some of them were garbage, but some of them were honestly not bad. They're all right. For me, what I want them to stop, and this is something that's going on with almost every genre, but for horror, this shouldn't be in there unless it's little tweaks every once in a while. I would love for them to just make a legitimate horror movie and stop adding comedy. I hate that. It takes away the point of it being horror. How the fuck am I supposed to be scared if I'm going, oh shit, she died? Like, it doesn't that doesn't work. This isn't fucking Marvel. That's what I hated about that franchise. No offense. That's the only thing I hated about that was like when Marvel did their thing, I'm kind of like, okay, that's fine. That's them. Like, obviously it works for them. That's their thing, obviously. I'm just like, okay, let them do Marvel movies. That's what a Marvel movie is. Sometimes it's funny and sometimes they can be serious and all this, that. Okay, cool. But then what I hate about it is like when they did The Mummy, the Tom Cruise one that you brought up, it was so focused on trying to rip it off that the comedy ruined it. That's why it didn't work, because you're just like, again, are you a horror movie or are you a comedy movie? When it came to Halloween, there was this one scene with these 2 cops being in a car, and they were talking about what they were eating for lunch. And then this cop's like, you eating that chocolate, it's like you eating like a little girl. And I was like, there's a serial killer out there, and you guys are making jokes about chocolate. I was like, what the... I was like, what the fuck? There's even some stuff in Scream and some things in Chucky and even in the new show. I hate that because I'm just like, how the fuck am I laughing? Why am I laughing? This is supposed to be scary. Like this isn't like the only time anything can be scary if it's either one based off something true, or two, sometimes if it's a found footage movie, or three, if it's something that's literally demonic, because there's nothing funny about that. Other than that, if it's about anything else, it has to be funny. I hate that. I honestly wish that Hollywood can stop adding comedy to these movies, because if you can just bring a good horror movie, obviously it will be fine for you to make sequels sometimes, because people like what you did. But they're so used to adding jokes. I hate that shit so much, to the point where I'm like, why does this need to be funny? I'm watching a love movie. Why does that need to be funny like every 5 minutes? I'm watching a horror movie. Why is it that this person's running for her or his fucking life, but yet I'm laughing? I wouldn't do that in real life. If you saw somebody screaming "help," what are you gonna do? You're gonna die. Like that, that's stupid. You wouldn't do that. So that's my issue when it comes to horror movies nowadays. Because if you watch any classic movie that we're talking about, do you ever recall them ever doing something funny?
Not really. No.
Jason, Chucky, Scream, Halloween, Michael Myers. Do you like Dracula? No. You know what was funny? The original monster movies. It wasn't until after like the first one, then they try to be funny. Perfect example was Frankenstein. Have you seen the second one, The Bride of Frankenstein? They had this actress who was like the maid. She would be all, ooh, wow, like she would try to be funny, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's because they were trying to lighten up monsters, and then they did the show where they were all together in a house, that sitcom, The Monsters.
Yeah, and to me, I was like, that didn't work. I was like,
well, apparently it did, because it went on for like 5 seasons.
Huh? Oh no, I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about the movie.
Oh yeah, no, the movie.
I've seen the original Frankenstein, and then I saw The Bride of Frankenstein. And the first half of The Bride I didn't like, because it went from this horror that it was going from the first one. And the first half was just terrible. I didn't like it because it was so busy trying to be funny with this maid. And it wasn't until the second half, when they were getting into the business of creating the bride, and I was like, finally, something interesting. I was like, okay, stick with the horror shit. But that's what I would like for them to take away from horror movies nowadays. Gabe mentioned something when he went to go see Venom. I feel like Venom could honestly be a horror movie. Venom, that character could fit for something like that. Because of what it is in his origin. Gabe tells me when he went to go see Carnage, oh, I liked it. I was like, oh, why? Oh, because it was funny. Like, it was really funny. And I was like, but Carnage is a serial killer. Like, he's dead ass, like, one of the hardcore. You fucking read comics. You should know this. Why would you want to go see a movie like that for the comedy? It's Carnage. You want to go for like the rated R, even though it wasn't rated R, but you want to go and see rated R Carnage. You wouldn't want to go there and see Venom fucking wearing rings and shit doing this. That was so stupid. I was like, you wouldn't want to see it for that. You want to take the character seriously. That's the only thing that I would like Hollywood to stop doing, in my opinion. Would you agree, or would you not? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, like, as far as, again, I don't have the same kind of eye, or again, my opinions are different from your opinions.
No, clearly, that's what we're talking. Yeah.
Me, personally, I go there to, me personally, I do enjoy most of these, but some of them, yes, they get overdone, especially in action movies where it's not necessary to throw in. It's fine to throw in like a little jab at somebody if it's an inside joke, of course, but if you constantly run this gag along, it gets boring.
No, that's what I said. Like, if it's every once in a while, like if you tell a joke like every, like, let's say like if a movie was 2 hours, if you were to tell a joke like every like maybe like 30 to 40 minutes, right? That'd be fine. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like, little things here and there is fine. But if I, like I said, if I'm in constant, like Thor Ragnarok, oh my god, like if it's constant like that, it gets boring, because you're just like, oh, it's another joke. I wasn't done laughing from the last one. What do you say? Like, that's what I mean. Like it gets repetitive. That's what I'm saying. It's so repetitive because it's in everything now. And that's what I don't like. I don't have a problem with there being jokes in almost anything. But the problem is that for almost any of these movies now, they use it too much. So now when it happens, you're kind of like, oh, what a surprise. They're making jokes in a serious situation.
My thing is, Hollywood can do without jokes.
Yeah.
It's fine to throw in a few jabs, but like don't let the jabs overstay their welcome.
Don't drag it out. Like
Yeah.
you want to keep it fresh. Like they should their mindset to me should be like, you know what, this worked, but let's try to do something different and have them forget about it. And if that new idea doesn't work, then bring that back so they don't expect it. That's how they should do it. Instead, they drag it out. And I'm just like, you
Like
guys stop.
I'm not saying fully take like some lighthearted moments out, like not take full comedy out, but like throw in a few little jabs. Don't let this whole thing like completely overshadow the movie. Don't let it like completely involve or engulf like this serious moment. Don't let it sit there and
Absolutely, I agree with it. Yeah, no, yeah.
like in Scream 5, like again with the cops, like they were joking, and then there's this serial killer out here. Like he was pretending to be dead, pops up, I got you, yeah, you got me, And the serial killer is right behind him, and I'm like, weren't y'all supposed to be going to chase him, or what happened with that?
When it comes to franchises that were made during the 2000s, right? Like let's forget the classics, let's forget the OGs, like classics that they made now. Is there? I already have an opinion on this, but to you, is there a franchise that was made like recently that you think in the horror genre has been done either very well or at least okay?
Franchise wise, so we're talking like 1, 2, and 3s, right?
Because
Okay.
literally almost any horror movie that's being done right now has a sequel, or so. Or if it's just one movie, no, it has to be a franchise. Yeah, franchise.
Okay. I guess the Insidious franchise. I enjoyed them.
No, they are 1 and 2. Yes, 3 is fine. 4 was just about the same as 3. So yeah, okay.
I do enjoy them, and again, because you talked me into these movies. Like I was not trying to watch them. You talked me into them.
My favorite franchise that I like, but is obviously having problems, is the Conjuring Universe because I do like Conjuring 1. If you were able to avoid the trailers, the Conjuring is actually a pretty good movie, especially since it's based off a true story. Especially the second one. Second one is a slow movie, but when it needs to be scary, it is, and I like that. Conjuring 3, I did not like. I uh, I was really disappointed with that movie just because of the fact that for one, James Wong wasn't in it. James Wong did the first two. He didn't do that one. By the way, he also created Saw. He didn't do the third one, and it went down. And what sucks is that all these other movies, The Curse of La Llorona, Annabelle 1, Annabelle Comes Home, Annabelle Creation, the first Annabelle was terrible. The second one was good. The third one was okay. Like what I didn't like, and even with The Nun, what I noticed about these other movies is that they don't try to be more scarier than The Conjuring. I don't know if you've seen most of the movies, but
Okay, so I've watched The Conjuring. I didn't even bother with the Annabelle because I heard Annabelle wasn't that good, and I did watch The Nun. I went to go see that one with friends. We all left disappointed.
yeah, it was very weak. That's what sucks is that I was like, The Nun was technically the villain of Conjuring 2. The Nun was basically her origin story. So when I watched it, I was like, what happened? I was like, why is this like some of the what do you call it? Some of the tropes that were in that movie were so cliche. So the best one to my knowledge definitely is the Conjuring universe. That is the best horror one to me. I can't consider any of Jordan Peele's movies because they're solo films. And like you said, they're different stories.
Yeah,
So
they're always different stories, and they don't exist in the same continuity.
exactly, they're their own thing, and I love that. I love that. That's why I can't really consider them. I mean, they are great movies, but they're not a franchise. So
Yeah,
that's honestly what sucks. Let me ask you this: when it comes to horror movies, because there's all different kinds, right? Do you feel like a horror movie is better low budgeted, or do you think a horror movie is better high budgeted?
I'm gonna say you can make a good horror movie at low budget because again, Hollywood they throw in all this money and they think this is what people want, heavy ass CGI,
That's what I said.
all this other stuff, and it's like no, you put 3 point something billion, you only made back not even half of that, dude, and then that's telling you that movie wasn't good.
The thing with the low budgets, and it sucks because it's backwards, is that horror low budget movies work because the director and writers have more creative freedom. No one higher up interferes with them. They don't tell them what they want to see, and that they have the right to make however it is that they want to. And because they don't have the budget, even though it's not super great, it works because it's their creative style. When it comes to Hollywood, it sucks because they actually have the money and the resource to make something great, but because they can't get their head out of their asses, their ideas come off as shit.
Again, it's a bunch of senile old guys who sit in the office all day, which I call them the suits.
Yeah.
Again, I swear to God, if I walk into an office into Hollywood, there's a hat sitting in the middle of a table and they all have little fishing rods. And you're just like, remake.
Yeah.
And then then they wonder why streaming's taking over. Oh, let's see, because you guys turn down ideas. And freaking Netflix gives them a budget, but I think most of these people, when they ask for the budget, they don't ask for anything high. That's why some Netflix movies are, they're decent, they're good.
I kind of disagree with that. Netflix actually does give them the budget that they want. The problem is that it's when, like, for an example, if it's a TV show, they're not going to really, they're going to argue, because depending on the ratings and how many people actually saw, then they give them a budget depending if it's going to work or not. But when it comes to movies, they actually do give them the budget. That's why they come off the way how they do sometimes. Again, like I said, Netflix takes risks. When I was talking to Jules, they take risks compared to Hollywood. Hollywood just likes to stick with the same thing. When it comes to Netflix, yeah, half of the shit that they do some of the times, whether it's movies or TV shows, they suck. But most of the time, they also come up pretty good. Hollywood just, everybody said that Hollywood ran out of ideas in the 1970s or 80s. And unfortunately, that shows. It really shows. They do the same thing over and over. And what I also don't like is the fact that if a movie with a good idea doesn't make its money back, and it's not the movie's fault, it's just because maybe they didn't promote it enough or something, they cancel it. They just go, well, that didn't work. I mean, it was a good movie, but it didn't work. They do that the majority of the times, and that sucks. I hate that. I hate that. I really do. They shouldn't really let poor judgment get in the way of a creative idea, because it's like, well, make another one. It could actually do better. Like, you don't know. Like, you had a good start. You just didn't do a good job promoting the fucker. Any comment you'd like to add to
that? No, not really. I think we've pretty much touched on everything. Yeah, no, I've said my little piece about the horror movie franchise and where it's going.
Let me ask you this, and this can be my final question. Horror movies from today going forward, do you, in your opinion, feel like they're going to get better or they're going to get worse?
Again, we need the right kind of people writing these. And I need the writer who is so freaking twisted right now to make a horror movie, and that will make me clench the edge of my seat. That is the only way we can actually get a decent horror movie out. And so far, I feel like Hollywood's just piggybacking off Jordan Peele. In my personal opinion, they're just piggybacking off him. Because all Hollywood's doing is just making remakes of horror movies.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. They do have, there are other movies that are out recently that are good, but obviously because people don't know what they are, they don't give them any attention. It has to be with a good name, and that's kind of what sucks.
That's what I'm like. They're just kind of piggybacking off Jordan Peele's name because of Get Out, because of freaking Us. Like, freaking Nope hasn't come out yet, and I've seen that advertised, and it's getting advertised like crazy right now.
No, yeah, they say that there's this thing going on where, like, movies that get the most advertisement, like a lot of advertisement, actually fail. And I was like, well, really? Because they advertise it so much that it doesn't really come off great. Perfect example was Clash of the Titans. I think it was that 2008 remake or something. They advertised that movie so much that it didn't it did do enough, but it wasn't a great movie though, even though they made it seem like. Then they made Wrath of the Titans, which I like, but then it didn't do good in theaters because it didn't make his budget back. So that's what I'm saying. Hollywood's perspective is just all over the place. That's why I'm kind of like, you know what you're doing? That's just me.
Apparently not.
But okay. Okay. So here's a random question, right? This is literally just something that I just thought of right now. Is there a genre that you want horror to be mixed up with? Like, for example, obviously we have horror sci-fi entities. We have demonic serial killers. Is there anything that you would like to see in the horror genre do?
Not really, because I just feel like we can't. I don't know. For me, I want to see a horror movie be a horror movie. It's fine to mix it here and there. I kind of just want to watch a horror movie to watch a horror movie. You know what I mean?
So basically, you don't really care as long as it's good.
Yeah. Like, for instance, freaking, I want to, like, Aliens, like you said, that's technically a horror sci-fi.
Alien, but yeah.
Yeah. Alien or whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it went from horror to action with aliens. And then they try to redo that, but it no.
It didn't work. But like, again, yeah. That, in my personal opinion, I kind of just want to see a horror movie just to be a horror movie. It's fine to mix it here and there, but I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't really want to see it mixed with anything at this point.
You
because
just want to see solo horror.
Yeah, like I want to, again, I want the fear factor. I really do. Yeah, I don't want a fear factor and then it breaks into a fucking fight scene.
Okay, well then, Mike, I asked all the questions that I could. Is there anything that I missed, or is there something that you would like to talk about before we end this podcast?
No. I mean, we pretty much, if we touched on everything, I've given my 2 cents, and that's, I think I've said my piece.
All right, cool. Yeah. And of course, I have a lot more to say first, but obviously it has to do with other topics, of course. And I want to also give a shout out to my good buddy, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and for doing this. This was your idea, of course. And it was a great idea, being able to talk about horror movies, because obviously horror is actually one of the best genres out there. You know, you can compare it to any other one, but it's technically on the top notch of all the lists when it comes to genre, because it's horror. You know, it's thrilling, it's exciting, it can be creative. If it's done right. But with that said, though, first, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you guys like, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and hit that notification to help your girl out and to help me reach my first 100 subscribers. If you could do me a favor, I'll put in the link below to one of my buddies' video. Please check out my friend Michael's YouTube channel, the Mike Logs, where he does vlogs on whatever it is that he does, you know, on a day. And obviously, he's doing a second channel with our buddy Gabe. I'll put a link into the first video of that in the description below too, so you guys can check it out. But check out the videos; they're pretty cool. You know, if you're someone that likes to watch vlogs. And with that said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this podcast. More videos are coming up soon, and I hope to do more. If there's a genre that you would like me to talk about, let me know, and I'll consider it. With that said, lovers, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you for coming on again. And with that said, first, have a great day. Laters.